Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey, hey.
Daddy, please don't ask me. Daddy, I'm desperately sorry. But I do care for you. With all of my heart, you're my dearest friend. I just can't go be your wife.
You say you won't, but you will.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Coming at you again remotely, but you don't know that. I don't know. I guess there's no point in telling you guys that.
Yeah, we should just keep the magic alive.
I was so impressed. Last week we did Space Jam from different locations, and the sound was like better than ever. So I'm like, screw it, we're never doing it together again.
What?
I know.
That's not true.
It's not true at all, but this is such an awesome option. I'm just so glad we can do it. You know what's really sad?
What?
Little Women, the movie that we covered tonight. Holy shit, guys. I haven't cried this long, like, in a year. Or much in a year. Oh, my God. Cried.
It just keeps coming. You're like, oh, my God, they gave Beth a piano. And then you're like, oh, my God, the dad's home. It's just like, it's too much.
You know what does it for me? The music. That it got nominated for an Oscar for the music. I understand now because it is like Waterworks music. It's like that. It's like da na 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 na. That's like the only theme that's played like 1,000 times. Oh my God, guys!
Tugs at the heartstrings.
Yeah. Anyways, Sweetie thought it would be a great idea. I don't know what the craving came from, but for us to watch the 1994 version of Little Women.
I don't know if it was a craving. Honestly, I don't know why we took so long to watch this, first of all, because I fucking love this movie. Second of all, it's like a perfect snowy day movie.
Totally.
That's why.
I mean, it's kind of like through the seasons in New England, but this is like quintessential New England film, right? You got, okay, so for those who don't know, and if you don't, you should go back to school because this is based off of Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, a pretty important and one of the few American women writers who was writing in like the late 1800s, right? Grew up a huge Massachusetts person, so we're from around Boston. Louisa May Alcott was from Concord, Massachusetts, so just like a couple towns up actually from where we are. And was a great writer, known for Little Women. I also think she did Little Men, not as well known, thank God. And then her dad was actually like a super important person in the transcendentalist movement, correct?
Tough word.
Yeah. So we kind of grew up with like this shit, let's say.
Did we?
Literally. Yeah, I mean, it was like huge. My first memory of this movie, not even this movie, but the Little Women story in general, was I had a giant copy of this book that I kept in my bookcase all the time. Never read it. I got it for a Christmas one year because Mom was like, oh, like Emily likes books and she's so literary. Like, I'm going to give her the classics. Awesome, Mom. Thank you. And I really appreciate that. But I never read them. But you know what I did do? I kept my
diary. Stick your $2 bill in there. Oh, your diary.
No. I taped my diary key into the center of the book, which I'm pretty sure Sweetie was able to find.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You had to sell a lot of those big books, not just
I did.
Classics.
Where did I get them? Did I get them as Christmas gifts? I mean, it was awesome. But yeah, so that was kind of like my first introduction to Little Women was definitely the book. I think I got the book before this movie came out in 94. I would have been 11 when the movie came out. But great movie at the time for the like amazing cast that it had, right?
We saw it in the movie theater.
What?
Yeah, this was the first movie that I remember battling with that evil, ever challenging dilemma of trying not to cry in public but failing. Like this
I
was
don't
the first
remember that
time
at all.
I cried at the movies when Beth dies.
At Wellfleet Cinemas we saw this?
No, I think it was like Harwich or something. But I
Dang.
just remember like that feeling on your face when you're like, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Did you get the Claire Dane quiver lip? Because maybe
Yes.
that's what happened to you.
She's always had it.
Okay, I want to say that. Okay, so let's go back to the cast, right? So, like,
Yep.
this is okay. Everyone, put yourself back in 1994, right? Like, who was a big deal in 1994? Who was the biggest deal in 1994? Winona fucking Ryder. She was huge. She was huge,
right.
and she's an awesome Joe. I love her in this. I kind of look like Winona Ryder. She's kind of like my actress spirit animal, and I gotta pat her on the back. She did an awesome job. Love that bitch. Who else is big in 1994? Sweetie.
I think you mean Trini. Just kidding. Whoever Meg is. I was like, who the fuck is
she's
that?
the unknown.
Claire Danes.
Claire Dane. But this was her first movie ever.
Yeah, but she had done my so-called life.
First
obviously.
feature
Right,
film.
but she was like very famous in the 90s.
Yeah,
I thought we were
yeah,
talking
but
about
this was her
famous
first-
people
this is
in
her
the
first movie, though.
90s. Okay, yep. Kirsten Dunst,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Sweetie's favorite,
Yeah.
/ least favorite / okay now. So
Yeah. Okay,
that's
now,
good.
but you can obviously, if you've seen this movie, you know why that someone would potentially hate that girl because it's fucked up, man. Amy is like fucked up, dude. Susan Sarandon. Susan Sarandon as Marmee. Oh my
Marmee.
god.
Okay, wait. Question: is Marmee her name, or is that
No.
a name you call your mom?
I think that's the name you call your mom because I started calling our mom Marmee after this. I was so inspired.
I know, but like, what? Let me double check that
Because in IMDb, the credits, they do call her
that's what I'm checking.
Marmee March.
Oh no, they call her Mrs. March.
Oh, okay. I thought they called her Marmee March. They call her Marmee March in the updated version, the Greta Gerwig one.
All right, so bad news. Her name is. Wait. Oh wait. I'm curious about the. Yeah, it seems to just be a different spelling of mommy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Funny.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I was always like, what is up with that? But I get it.
totally. Yep. So Susan Sarandon as Marmee. Love it. Christian Bale as Theodore, Teddy, Laurie. What's his last name? Fuck, I forgot.
I thought it was Lawrence.
The guy has like 27 names. It's
I think
insane.
the last name is Lawrence,
No,
and
that's
he's
his.
called Laurie.
No, that's his middle name.
What?
Yeah,
That is
he's
stupid.
Theodore Lawrence something. I thought. No.
Oh, well, then he has two of the same names.
Yeah, that's why I was
Dumb as it
confused when
gets.
she and I thought someone called him Theo or something at one point too. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
Theodore.
Yeah, but they call him Teddy.
Yeah. But you can also be Theo if you want. I don't know.
Yeah, they just have him Laurie in the credits. And who else? Gabriel Byrne
Yeah.
as this kind of cool
Whatever his
German
name is.
German older French guy, Friedrich.
Friedrich.
Who like I never really appreciated in this movie because has anyone ever seen this? Please give me a shout out. I always in the 90s equated Gabriel Byrne to an evil pirate because there is this movie called Shipwrecked, which was like this Disney maybe made movie with Gabriel Byrne, and then it was like these Norwegian sailors, and they get like stranded on this island, and there's this like really bad pirate that like comes and like tries to take all their treasure and stuff like that. I can't find this movie anywhere. It was amazing. I will never forget it. There's like scenes that are like burned into my brain. It's so good, and no one can find it. If you've seen this movie, let me know. I'm pretty sure it was like a Disney
You can
original
watch it
shit.
on Prime Video for $1.99.
Oh my God, we're gonna watch it. I love it. It's so good. Anyway, so he's like the evil pirate in that. So whenever I used to see him as a kid, I'd be like, evil pirate. But he's actually like pretty awesome in this. He also randomly reminds me of Father Damien in The Exorcist.
Oh my God, yes.
Right?
I got so confused about that.
I know.
And
And
is Gabriel Byrne in Stigmata?
Maybe that's it.
and it's like a similar sitch, and you're like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Like
And then also, if you've guys still working today, good for you, Gabriel. He was in Hereditary. Yeah, he was the dad in Hereditary, which I was like, whoa, I haven't seen you in forever. So that's Gabriel Byrne for you. But really, this movie is about the 4 daughters. The little women, if you will, and their mom, basically, and sort of their workings of everyday life. This is about 1864. I think it's like a year or something before the Civil War ends. So it's kind of just like a snapshot of life in New England in like the 1864, and these women from a sort of like I don't know if they would be considered like middle class. But yeah, because they're not totally poor, but they're not like super wealthy.
They seem not to have very much money at all. I read the novel synopsis, and it said they're supposed to be like pretty poor.
Well, it's like
because the dad was like disgraced or something as a pastor, and then lost all his money.
Right. So it's almost like he like chose that life a little bit because they're part of this transcendentalist movement, and they're like temperate. They don't drink. And they don't like really believe in money, and like I kind of like forget what transcendentalism was all about. I looked it up. It's like something about how like your experiences you like transcend and learn from or something. Yada yada.
It's just
I don't
love
remember.
yourself. Blah 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 blah.
I don't remember American Authors 1. Okay, I thought it was like boring as fuck. That stuff so snoozy.
Yeah, a little bit.
But apparently, so that was like Louisa May Alcott's dad, and then she makes into the book the March father is like also part of that movement. So yeah, so I would say they're like on the poorer side. But it's a beautiful film, you guys. I love this movie so much. It's down to, like we said, the music is so beautiful. It's great acting. Winona Ryder nominated for an Oscar for her portrayal of Jo. Yeah, I know. I was kind of shocked because it is a good performance. I don't know if it's like Oscar worthy, and to be the only one nominated, though I guess that makes sense because she's the only one that has like the biggest part.
I don't know. Claire Dane should have been. I
yeah. Oh my God, Claire Danes was so good, and like first movie, crazy. But it's a beautiful movie, and it's a great look, obviously, at like what it meant to have all like sisters and this kind of like close family at that time. It's also like quite a feminist film, which like it's I'm really like parts of this were very difficult for me to watch. Basically, any movies that set during this time and how like basically horrible women had it is like pretty painful for me to watch. But with like Marmee and how she like raised those girls and how they thought to act, and like especially Jo and like what she's able to do and how she wants like so much more for herself and how much her mom supports her was like so awesome to watch. And I told Sweetie this before we started watching this. Like, I was obsessed with Jo March. I wanted to be Jo March, like, so bad. She seemed like the coolest bitch, like, ever. And it's so awesome to have, like, what was I, 11 years old? To have those kind of, like, role models to watch this. You know, you have, you know, what other movies were at this time? I'm sure there's, like, shitty rom-coms that we've already discussed, or, like, kind of the 80s ones that sent really bad messages.
I don't know. The Net.
Yeah, no,
awesome.
no, definitely. We've talked about how the 90s had like tons of actually feminist films that we're like really, really proud of, and I think kind of shaped our like worldview like a little bit. But this is awesome that this is one of them, but based on a story from a time where like women, you know, didn't have opportunities to really like have those chances. So I love this movie for that, especially.
Ditto. And really this movie takes on a whole different meaning when you are older. And you are no longer a little woman.
Yeah.
It's just like, I was just like floored tonight by like how different I viewed the movie versus when I did when I was little. And yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it, but wow. So many changes for me.
Oh my God. I can't wait to hear about it. I love that. Yeah. I mean, that's honestly the whole point of our podcast is to be like, okay, like when we watched it when we were 9, we thought this, but then now we're like, you know, 35.
Yeah.
And we're like, holy shit.
And you're like, why are my hormones so crazy? Because when I was little, like only one part made me cry. And now I'm like, oh my God, kittens. I know. It's too much. Those fucking kittens.
Oh man, I cried through this like whole movie. It was awesome.
Yeah, me too.
I wrote down like I wrote down like all these inspirational lines. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm gonna make like bumper stickers out of like Marmee's wisdom.
I want to make a bumper sticker out of "Isn't butter divinity?"
Well, that will always be true.
That's one of my top top 2 least favorite Amy lines. It's just like, fuck you. Shut up. Like, she's so self-important. She's such a self-important little bitch.
Her whole life. I mean, she gets kind of better at the end. There is like slight like character arc in that.
Yeah.
But bitch, why didn't you come to your sister's funeral? That's all I want to know.
Couldn't. She didn't have any money.
What? Dude,
Women didn't have any money.
the
The aunt couldn't go because her health was too frail or whatever.
Then she stays home and she comes.
Yeah,
she stays
I don't
there,
know.
She comes
I don't
home.
know.
You have
It
to
was
get
bullshit.
married?
No,
Like,
yeah, it was
I hate
bullshit.
that. I mean, you know, R.I.P. Louisa May Alcott. Like, love you to pieces, but like, what the fuck is with that ending? Why? I don't know. I'm still bothered by that, and like, I understand. It's fine because Joe obviously had no feelings for Laurie. So it's like, no matter what, like, it's fine, I guess, like, who he marries. But, like, dude, you're a stalker. Like, get over it. You can't be in this family. Like, it's so gross. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's
Doesn't
definitely turned into a creepscape between when I was 7 and now. So
like, what? Oh, God. Laurie is such a
yeah, we'll
loser.
talk.
That's
We'll
my
talk.
my only regret about this film. Like, Laurie is a loser. Okay?
yeah, total loser.
That's all I'll say.
Loser. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Ready for it.
It's time for the sweetie synopsis. Yeah.
Sweeties.
Why must we marry at all? that one like really stuck out to me, but
Okay.
I was like, yeah, why do we have to get married? This is bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit.
I mean, at that time when like that was like all you had to do was get married. That's like literally was your only opportunity or
know.
way out, and that is bullshit to me. It's so like I said before, it's just like so all the stuff they were dealing with. It just made my heart hurt, like ache for these poor women who are just like stuck. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. The March family, that is in order of age. Well, the daughters. Hold on. Should I talk about the mom? Okay, let's start with everybody. We got the
why not?
dad. We got Marmee. We got Meg, Joe, Beth, Amy, housekeeper Hannah, a bunch of kittens. You know, it's a happy little house. They are growing up in Concord, Massachusetts, in 18 whatever.
Let's say 1864.
Okay, Civil War era. The father is off at war. And the girls are by themselves. And you know what? They're making it work. They don't have a lot of money, but they're making it work. They
seem like they have a lot of fun.
Yeah, they seem to have a lot of fun. They have a lot of imagination.
So much imagination.
They like Joe is a writer,
Which,
and,
sweetie, I will say reminded me a lot of us because we too. I mean, while we didn't like make newspapers, family newspapers or
who is that? Okay, they obviously have that kind of time because they don't have anything else going on. Like maybe if we didn't have any of like TV or whatever, like we could make Pickwick portfolio also.
Oh, totally. But like they like performed plays in their attic and like because Joe is a writer, so like, she wrote all that stuff. But we did all that play stuff too. Our imaginations were like off the chain. Like we had such a good time, and it just really reminded me a lot of like how we like grew up.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So Theo Lawrence, whatever, moves in next door, and everyone's like, "Ooh, a boy!
Ooh, boy next door!"
And Joe immediately kind of, starts up a relationship with him, a friendship. They meet each other at this stupid ball, and they both hate it, and they bond over that. And then Laurie just kind of joins their group, and he becomes part of the Pickwick Society, and it's very sweet, and he becomes like a brother to all of them. So then we kind of just like go through the seasons, right? So, like winter, Christmas. Oh, it's so sad we don't have any presents. And they have this like amazing feast and they're like, let's give it to the poor people. And Amy's like, no. I mean, I would do the same. I'll be honest. She did like the Abu thing where like everyone else is giving the food and she's like, I want this orange. She has a weird obsession with citrus in this movie and I'm not quite sure what it is about, but I will find out someday.
Well, I feel like citruses were like treats because remember, like like old timey shit. Like they have like oranges in your stocking, and like as a kid, you're like sick.
Oh, yeah.
If I got an orange in my stocking, I'd be like so pissed.
I just think it's so funny that she's like the limes, and she's like, not my orange. You can't take my orange. But I think like citrus freak.
They were so in demand because they didn't grow here, so I think they like were a luxury item. I will just
for
say.
sure. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? But yeah, so they have this Christmas dinner or breakfast or whatever, like all planned out, and then then they have to give it to the fucking Hummels, which like. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's who they give it to? Fuck them.
Yes. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, the Hummels are the cause of so much tragedy. And, like, God bless those people. Like, they were very poor, German family, I don't know, who lived in, like, a shed and with, like, bloody noses all the time. And then they cause some trouble, like, later on because the babies get sick.
Don't
You know,
spoil it.
I know.
God.
But I'm just saying. So they give the Christmas dinner to the Hummels. So you see that these girls are, you know, I mean, they're kids. So they're like, damn, we want this Christmas dinner. But no, you know, they've been raised very much with a sense of charity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then let's see. I mean, a bunch of like random things happen, right? A lot of like little things.
A lot of balls.
Yeah, a lot
dances.
of balls. They get to go to Joe and Meg get to go to a play with Laurie and Laurie's teacher, Creepy Creeperson. What's his face? What's his name?
Let's just call him Eric Stoltz, okay?
Eric Stoltz. No, that's what I meant. I couldn't think of the actor's name that I hate. Eric Stoltz, Creepy Creeperson, who wears these like tinted John Lennon glasses that I'm just like, are those anachronistic? Like,
Yeah.
it seemed weird. But anyway, so they go to the play. Amy's super pissed about it because she's young and a bitch, and she's like, "You'll be sorry, Joe March," and then burns her fucking manuscript that Joe's been working on for like only her whole entire fucking life. It's like the size of a giant dictionary. So upsetting. And then they get in a big fight, and it's kind of like, oh no, the sisters are at war. But then tragedy strikes when Laurie and Joe are ice skating, and Amy comes and falls through the ice. I don't know why. I mean, they didn't fall. They didn't fall through the ice when they were waiting to go.
Yeah.
They were racing, and Amy weighs like half the pounds of them, so that was weird. But she falls in, and then Joe immediately is like, "Oh my God, Amy!" And then their relationship is patched up. So it's like, oh, okay, just kidding. Like, I don't hate you, because sisters, even though they fight, always make up, or at least they should. At least we do. I mean, I hope that's the same with other people, but I definitely got a sense of that feeling in that scene. You know, that was one of the scenes I cried at when they're on the bed and she's like,
yeah, I'll always love.
like,
I'll always love my sisters. Yeah, no, it's adorable.
most of all.
They're a lovely little foursome. So yeah, so like life goes on again, like more balls, blah blah blah. The seasons are like moving on. And they get this telegram. Their dad is in fighting the Civil War on the side of the Union, and he gets wounded. So he's at a hospital in Washington, D.C. So they have to like come together, and they help, you know, everyone, Laurie next door and his super rich uncle, like help them get organized. Joe sells her hair. I cried at this part. To get, oh my God.
Joe, you're one beauty.
I know.
You bitch.
She sold her hair.
That's my other least favorite Amy line.
I mean, so she didn't want to ask Aunt March for the money, I guess, for the train ticket for the mom. Like, the bitch has
Aunt
a
March
fucking mansion.
Our Aunt March can fucking suck it. She
Like,
is.
Why can't they afford to buy limes? But this bitch is like sitting in this giant mansion.
I know. It's
It's
wild.
like insane. So anyway, so Joe cuts her hair, donates it, gets money so Marmee can go and be with the dad in Washington, D.C. and like help him. You don't know what his wound is, but it doesn't seem like super serious, but who knows. So because Marmee has to go away, she usually visits the Hummels, which is this poor German family who lives in a shack with bloody noses. And they, so she's like, Beth, like make sure you check on the Hummels, blah, blah, blah. So Beth kind of steps in, and Beth is like the quiet one that is basically like the resident piano player. She loves piano. She's really sweet to everybody, not like a mean bone in her body. She's just the sweetest little nugget. They call her Cricket. That's her nickname. And so she used to visit the Hummels now. And so I guess she's been doing it for like a while because there's like a extended time where like Marmee's gone and they're like doing their shit. Like life's going on. But you know, like Beth has been visiting the Hummels for a while. And she goes there one day and like the Hummels, the baby is really sick. And the mom fucking gives the baby to her. She's like, here, take. I don't know what she thought like she was going to do.
I know, like, dude, take care of my sick baby. I don't know what's wrong with it.
And then Beth comes home and is like instantly sick. She like basically like, collapses onto the piano and like heap. And then Hannah, the nurse, comes home. She's like, oh, did you hear about the Hummels? Like 2 of the babies got like taken up to heaven by God. And you're like, oh shit, scarlet fever, guys. Which was like no joke in the 1860s. I mean, that shit will kill you. So Meg and Joe had scarlet fever when they were a baby, so kind of like chicken pox. Like, you know, you got it, you got the immunity, you're good.
How'd they survive?
Yeah, I know. I thought that too. That's crazy. Amy hasn't had it yet, so they like fucking ship her off to Art March, and they're nursing poor Beth. And Beth is worse for her. She's not doing well. She's not doing well at all. No. So they're like, okay, like we got to send her for Marmee. Like I think that might be all we can do here. And Meg, the older sister's like, well, like what if send for Marmee and then, Dad gets worse. So it's like this whole conundrum, but it's like, okay, like she needs her mom. Like mom will know what to do, which is so true. Has she ever been sick and you're like, all I want is my mom?
Oh my God, yes. That was another part I cried at.
I know.
When her mom came, she was like, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, totally. So then, like, Laurie and the rich uncle, like, arrange for her to come, like, so sweet. And Marmee comes and fucking, like, whips everyone to shape. She, like, knows what to do. So she's like,
is she a doctor?
No, she's not, but she's a
woman?
mom, and she's awesome. She's been taking care of Beth since she was, like, a tiny baby. So, yeah, so they do kind of like a sleepless night, but Joe wakes up the next day, and, like, Beth's bed is all like cleaned out, almost like when you're in a hospital and somebody dies and like they just
and Hannah's sobbing on a bench.
I know. I mean,
like lead with "She's okay, Hannah." God,
biggest trick. So then you see Beth awake, eating breakfast with Marmee and Meg, and then you just like lose it again. Like Beth is okay, but as Joe said, like a cloud descended over our house because that scarlet fever really weakened Beth's heart forever. So she's in a weakened state and really will not, foreshadowing her not being able to live a full life. But
it's fucked.
Essentially, life goes on.
Yes. So Meg finds her suitor in creepy whatever Eric Stoltz. They get married. Hooray. And then things start to change because, when you grow up, people start marrying. Things are different. This whole time, Joe has been really excited about going to Europe someday with Great Aunt March because was her companion. So she knew Aunt March was going to go to Europe, and she was so excited. Meanwhile, Laurie is obsessed with Joe and proposes to her. And she's like, listen, I like you as a friend. Like, she friend zones him. And he does not like that. And he's like kind of creepy. And he's like, no, like you'll love me someday. I don't know. It's like, it's a weird fucking speech. And she's like, I don't want to be a wife. And I'm like, yeah, Joe. Yes. I was so excited. I was just excited by her rationale. Like, I get it. So he's all distraught and torn up about it. He like leaves and becomes like a drunk he becomes like Bruce Wayne basically.
Oh, totally. But like, and the thing with Laurie is that he wanted to have that like companionship with her like the whole time, and like his life would move on and he'd have a career and stuff, but she would just be like this constant companion, this like fun little companion to him. And like you said, like she wanted more. And I feel like that's where Laurie's like shtick, his whole thing. He like needs someone like to complete him, or like someone to like make him a better person or something. And I'm like, dude, stop leeching off people.
Yeah, it's weird.
You busted.
So Joe's all upset because she turned him down and she feels like she did a bad thing. And then fucking Amy comes in. And Joe's like, I need to get away. And Amy's like, oh, Great Aunt March is going to Europe. They're going to Paris. And Joe's like, yes, Paris, my trip to Paris. And Amy's like, oh, but she's actually wants me to go instead.
Girl, read the room. Like, why would you announce it like that? She's such an asshole.
So Amy gets to go to Paris and like work on her little paintings. La-di-da.
And I like how they're like, Amy has such skill in painting, and she's like, painting a teacup? Who paints a teacup?
It was a wedding activity guide.
Oh, it was.
It's just like a thing. I don't know, like
Those,
crafts,
like those make your own pottery shops.
Yes, exactly.
Was it a bachelorette party?
It's exactly what it was. So Joe's like, oh, I can't be here anymore. So she goes off to New York and like works as like a governess for these two kids in a boarding house.
She gets the sickest studio, probably rent controlled. Just kidding, it's in a rooming house. But
it's a boarding house. Yeah,
but that's a sick studio. Did you see that? It had its like own little bed.
It's a studio.
It's a studio. It's a studio. She had like her own bed. It was like her own room, her own bed. I mean, she had like a little washing.
Like I thought she was back at home for a second.
I know, a little fireplace. I mean, that place was sick. And she's a job. She's a tutor, right?
Yeah. She meets this German fella who has the same interests as her.
Well, the boarding house is filled with like dudes, basically.
Men.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't like let loose.
I know. She like wanted to.
Yeah.
But she's peddling her stories, right?
Yeah, she's trying to sell her stories, but she's a woman, so they're like, maybe you should try the woman's magazine.
Wait,
It's
wait.
the gardening club.
So do you feel
Blah,
like
blah, blah.
when she went to the newspaper, did that guy even read her stories or
No.
just
No, he just-
assumed that they were like fairy tales and whatever?
I mean, they kind of were fairy tales, but I think they
Yeah.
had like more soul in them, or she
well,
thought she did.
I thought they were
But
like
I don't know.
dark and like gothic because it sounded like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were
yeah.
about like vampires
Yeah,
and stuff.
I mean, I'm sure he didn't read them very well.
Yeah.
Let's just say that he probably read the title and was
Right.
like, because isn't the title like the sorceress something something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she's all pissed about that, and then like tries to confide in Friedrich.
Yeah, so they run into
And-
each other. She's like kind of in like a huff after she keeps getting rejected, as you know, new writers often do. And you know, the old meet cute where people like bang into each other and like all their papers go flying. But guys, this is like 1860, so there's like mud fucking everywhere. So if your stuff spills, like it's covered in mud. So she goes to his apartment and they're like very sweetly like hanging all her little pages on like little clotheslines to dry. Oh my god, adorable. So he is a German philosophy professor, I guess.
Fool me! I thought he was French.
I know. I did not remember he was German at all, but
Well, I don't think he
It's-
tried very hard to hide his French accent.
he's
That
not
he
French.
actually has. He isn't.
No, he's like British or Irish.
Oh,
Gabriel
God! Honestly, this whole time, like my whole life, I was like that French guy in Little Women.
Yeah,
Silly.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So then
Yeah,
they
he's
start to
Irish.
have like this relationship, and starts out a little bit more like as friends, and him being sort of a mentor, like slightly to her, but you can tell that he's starting to really fall in love with her. And Joe's like a little bit like slow to go, kind of with all that stuff. It seems like because she didn't really realize that Laurie loved her like that, and she's kind of slow to come around to that. This guy is kind of fallen in love with her. But, you know, he really appreciates her and wants her to do well and, you know, sees her as an equal versus I think Laurie really saw her as, you know, kind of like that wife material that she dreaded. So they go to the opera one day and like they sit in the wings essentially. And it's a German opera. So he like understands it. He's basically like narrating for her the story of this opera. And it's like this beautiful love story. And then they kiss. And then they basically like kind of become a couple after that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's all like, read my stories, and he's like, these aren't really good, and it's like an awkward sitch, and he's like, I think you should write like from your heart, not these like fantasy stories, and she's like, well, I like these fantasy stories. I'm kind of conflicted on that because I'm like, girl, like let her do what she. I don't know. I had mixed feelings.
I think
I get where
he-
he's coming from.
He knew there was more in her. Like she was a good writer, but there
Yeah.
like she was just kind of doing
Yeah.
stuff almost to make money, but like you know she wasn't writing from the heart.
So they kind of part ways for a little while because they get in this fight, and then she gets a letter that Beth is sick, so she goes home, and Meg is pregnant. She's pretty big, and goes to see Beth. And it's really sad. It's emotional. We'll talk about it. And then Beth dies, and what happens? Laurie finds Amy in Paris.
Yeah.
Like before this all kind of happened, and he starts a romance with her, which I'm still unclear if that is sincere or not.
no, it's not.
I don't know. It's really bizarre, and she kind of sees through it, but he like convinces her in the end because it's the only way she can get home is to go to her sister's funeral. It's very weird. So they get married, and they come home, and Joe's all excited to see him. And then let's see, Aunt March like dies, leaves the house, the estate to Joe, which I thought was kind of weird. She hates Joe.
yeah,
think
but
she
she
did that?
but she knew like Joe was going to be the only non-married one, right? Because at this point, Meg's married, Amy's married, Beth is dead, so she's like really the last heir that would like be able to use the house because Amy and Meg don't need a house.
She's like, I want you to be a spinster like me.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So then, but then before that, Joe is putting Beth's stuff into like her little chest upstairs, and she finds that Beth had saved like all that stuff from when they were kids, like the little newspapers they used to make, all the little Valentines and Christmas cards, and all the stories that Joe wrote for her and everything. And it gives Joe an idea to basically write a book about their lives growing up in Concord, and essentially like the whole plot of the movie turning into a book. So she writes this book and then sends it off to, you know, the ex-boyfriend German guy because he had like a publisher connection. And so now, at this point, Jo has inherited the aunt's house, and it's like really big, and she kind of doesn't know what to do with it. I don't think she's living there. Her mom suggests she turns it into a school, so she's thinking of doing that. And she's like at her mom's house one day, and all of a sudden this big parcel gets delivered, and it is her book, all typed up. Like when she submits the book, it's all
Good
handwritten.
service. Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes back like Little Women by Josephine March. And then before this, she had like submitted stories, and she always submitted them under Joseph March because it would be more likely to be published, as a man's name. See George Eliot. And they publish her book. So this is huge. She's like an author. So the ex-boyfriend, German guy, ex-boyfriend, German guy.
I've had it with these Germans.
Dropped the fucking thing off like in person. So he comes and asks where she was, and there's this like some confusion because Hannah thought like he was asking, it was Amy's like weird European friend, so tells him that like Amy's married and to buzz off. So the poor guy's like walking to the fucking train station.
Oh, Hannah.
Heartbroken.
God bless Hannah.
Jo like luckily is able to spot him, like runs down. He left his umbrella, so she like runs. It's starting to rain. It's this beautiful like scene in the rain, and he tells her that he's ready. He's going west because he's going to be a teacher out there. They need teachers, and she offers him a job at this new school that she's going to be at, and then tells him she's not married, and basically like, let's do this. So then they have like a beautiful kiss in the rain.
Yeah.
And it is. And I cried again.
Yep. That's it. So I guess my biggest takeaway is that when I was little, I don't think I realized the transition from like childhood to adulthood. Like I knew on like a somewhat level like that's what was happening. But to me, when I was watching it, it seemed like no time had really passed between the first part and the second part, which was always confusing to me of why Amy gets turned into this different actress. Because I was like, what is this, like 2 years later? In the book, it's 3 years later.
Well, this is 4 years.
So,
4.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
it's just
like
like,
the age differences between the kids, the girls.
well, it says they're all teenagers in the plot summary on
Oh, no way.
Wikipedia for the novel.
Even Amy?
Well, I'm sure maybe they changed that for the movie because they like really wanted Kirsten Dunst or something. That's what I'm assuming is the case of why they needed like a different actress, because she's the only one that like would have required that, right? So I mean that makes sense to me. But yeah, I guess I didn't pick up on that. But then watching it this time, I was like, holy shit! I was like, this is life, man. This is life. Like you are children 1 minute, and then something happens, and then you're just like pushed into adulthood all of a sudden, and you're like, how did I get here? And then you're 32 years old and single, and you're like, I am never gonna make it. But you're like, I don't care because I'm gonna be like Jo and become a famous writer, and it'll be great.
Well, at that point, they're all still in their like early 20s, though.
What, when they're in the second part?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
If that. I mean, I think
yeah.
Amy was probably like between 16 and 18.
Oh my God.
I mean, I think Jo and Meg were like early 20s. Because like Laurie goes to college. Right? So yeah, so he's definitely like in his like 20s. Anyway, beautiful movie. Like we said, such great, great atmosphere to this movie. Tons of tear-jerking scenes. Great music, great acting, great messages just about, like in doing your own thing, making it work.
Yeah.
Making it work in 1864.
Sisters doing it for themselves.
Yeah, right. And
so,
it's really it's a movie about sisters, really, right?
It is. But back to Laurie for a second. So so when I was little, like I was rooting for Laurie and Jo. Like I never understood why she turned him down when I was little. I think that when you're little, like it's that very basic, like, oh, they obviously love each other because they have all this chemistry and stuff, But now watching it, you're like, oh yeah, like she doesn't love him like that. Like she loves him as this like brother, as a friend, not as someone she wants to be married to.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And it was just very like I was like, holy crap, like how did I miss this? And then when she met Friedrich, I was like, why is she going out with this old as fuck guy who's like a giant? And it made me upset. I was like, what about sweet Laurie, when I was little. Now it's like the greatest thing. You're like, oh my God, they share the same interests. Yes. And they both love like literature and like the arts. And it was just like, it made me appreciate it now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh.
finally I get it, and I'm not like grossed out. I'm still a little grossed out by like the age difference.
I wonder how old he's supposed to
specifically
be.
of Winona and Gabriel. I mean, like he's in real life like 25 years older than she is.
Yeah.
So like as an actress, I don't know how you do that when you're, I don't know. I would just be like,
Well, I mean, if there's like a definition of like an old soul, that's definitely the Joe character, right? So like, I think that works, and like, whatever. I think that guy,
it's fine.
that guy like really was, like I said kind of before, like really saw her as his equal and really like appreciated her talents and wanted her to do well.
And her opinions about
and her
like,
opinions, exactly.
feminism
like,
and stuff.
He really, really cared about her, and it was just like so nice to see. Like I said, like Laurie just wanted Joe for himself and what he was like, you know, what she was going to do for him. He wasn't going to provide anything but like fun really for her. And like the thing about Laurie is that, and you do like notice this by the end, because he actually says this, he's like, I'm basically like, I'm obsessed with your family and I will do like anything to get in it. Because Laurie, if you remember, like his mom was Italian or something and his dad died, I forget. So he kind of grows up like without, he doesn't have any siblings, and he's like grows up basically without a family. So the March family like does become his family, and he didn't really want to lose them, so he did want to like hitch himself to them in some way. And Amy did become like the easy way out, and I'm sure they were like always fond of each other, but I'm still,
but again, like
I still just
she was
do
like
not
this
feel good
little
about
girl, and she's like this little girl when he goes to college. I don't know. It's just like creepy to me. I still feel like it's creepy.
But like,
and he just seems crazy. He seems crazy, like
totally. And she like knew why he was doing it, and even like told him. So it's not like she was dumb to the fact, but she like still kind of like fell for that and bought into it. And like you do find out, I mean, you do know that Amy is very into like vanity. Her whole character is like, oh my god, my nose is too big. Like, let me wear a clothespin on it for like ever. She's like talking as a little girl about marrying wealthy. I mean. That was just like her. That was that person. Like all the girls have such a personality, you know, type. You know, Meg. You know, Joe's obviously the like free spirit, and you have Beth is the sweet one, and then you have Amy is the vanity one, and Meg is the more like nice but traditional one who is just gonna like kind of do what everyone else
be
did.
a wet blanket.
Yeah.
Total wet blanket.
So you like have all those things. So they set up Amy as being that character, and she does kind of like have a slight like better arc. I feel like when she's painting and she's in Europe, she comes to like appreciate things and like a little bit like ways of the world.
She smells Laurie's bullshit.
Yeah,
and it's like I don't
but
want you
still
to marry
goes
me.
along with it.
I know. I don't know what that's about either, because like maybe she was just always in love with him, like when she was little, you know?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of, because like she was obviously gorgeous and could have had like any guy she wanted, but yeah,
right. I think she like, unlike Joe, who really could only ever see him as like a brother, so never she loved Laurie, but in a brother way. She never was attracted to him in like that sense. They just like had a lot of fun, but I think Amy did kind of go over that and had that crush sort of level that made her attracted to him, which was why that was, you know, she could make that jump. I don't know. I'm still like really sketched out. I'm glad it all worked out at the end. And like there is, you know, she goes up to Joe and it's like, you know, from sister to sister, are you really okay with this? So I'm glad they like have that dialogue. And honestly, Joe seems fine with it. She could care less because she didn't love Laurie. So like it didn't matter. But I'm sorry. Like if I was Amy, I'd be like, no, just no.
it's the sister code, man.
I know. That's what I am saying. Even though they never went out.
They never went out, so I don't know if that's the same thing. But yeah, I mean, total different perspective as adults. Definitely cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about the things that stick out to me. Not some of these are my favorite parts, but some of them are just like things I will always remember until the day I die. Yep. So the first one obviously is that this movie gave me an irrational fear of holding crying babies, because I was like, because that scene is just like so scary. She's like giving the baby, and Claire Danes is like doing her like scared cry face as she's holding the baby, and the baby's crying and the baby's sick, and you're like, ugh, like I don't know. I just felt like anytime I was like, I never want to be near a crying baby ever. Like that's obviously gonna kill me. So that kind of scared me. The party scene at the beginning where they go and Joe's curling Meg's hair with a curling iron, which is like, wow, I didn't think they had those back then. But maybe,
How do you think
I'm
they
assuming
curled
did
hair?
with those rag curls that Amy has, like in the beginning. You remember you
well-
tied your hair with that fabric, and then they came out.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
the way they had those kind of like defined ones. This is how they did it, guys, and it was no joke. I mean, that is insane if you think
Well,
about it.
explain it.
All right, so
How
it's
do they
basically
do it?
well, like so curling irons is essentially like a rod that heats up, and when you put hair around it, it curls the hair into that
Right,
shape of
but
that
it's-
rod. So they didn't have anything to plug it in, so it was basically like a rod of metal that they would stick into the fire and heat up with fire. So it was like a hot metal rod heated up by fire. And you would wrap your hair around it and then take it out, and it was a curl. So great. So you got to be careful, though, and not keep the hair in too long, or else it will literally burn off. Oh, my God.
Oh my God, scarred for life.
I'll remember that scene for like the rest of my life. That's the
yeah,
one
that's
scene
what I
I'll
said.
always remember.
And when
Crazy.
I'm curling my hair, like
Yes.
to now, I'm like, can't leave it in too long. I don't want my hair to fall out and wear a dumb bow on my head my whole life.
Oh my God.
And it's just like
one of my
ugh.
favorite lines from that. So when Joe meets Laurie for the first time, and he's like staring at people at the dance, and they're kind of like looking behind this curtain. And she's like, "Oh, who are you looking at?" And he's like, "Oh, that girl right there is really captivating." And it ends up being Meg. And Joe goes, "Oh, that's my sister," and she's completely bald in the front.
I know. I laughed. I LOL.
Me too. Joe
Classic
has some,
sister
Joe has
move.
some like classic funny lines. I just like love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
But yeah, that scene crazy. The limes. So Amy, there's like this whole situation with Amy at school and these like bully girls or whatever, and the whole like the fad is limes, and everyone like has their limes and trades them for things. So Amy's like really upset because she doesn't have any money to get limes, and fucking Meg gives her 25 cents, which was probably like $300 back then, and is like, buy some limes. And Amy does. It turns out limes are banned at the school. So the teacher, what's that? Not what is it called? When you get a hit with the ruler, it's like the
Discipline. Beat.
whipped. I don't know. That's like a word. But she has like a mark on her hand, and it was really scary. And I just like that scared me. I was
The
like,
switch.
school?
The switch.
Yeah, like school was no joke back then.
Yeah.
She drops her like little chalkboard in the snow, and it erases. That's fucked up. I mean, it's fucked up. Yeah. So that scene, when Amy falls through the ice, also very scarring, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, Sweetie recently was on a frozen ice pond sitch, and
tell me
it
about
made me instantly think of this scene. And I was like, you better get off that ice. I'm not there to save you. Laurie's not there to save you.
Oh my God. When I was on the ice that day, this was like a couple weeks ago, and my boyfriend like told me like it's been frozen forever, like it's been so cold all these days in a row, and the ice is like so thick. I'm like, how do we know? What if there's like thin parts or whatever? So he skates, so he like goes off skating, and I'm like left on the pond. I just have shoes on, so I'm like slowly walking over the ice, right? And then I swear to God, I hear like this crack. And I was like, ah, and I had a heart attack for like 2 seconds.
Did you like run off the ice?
Well, what are you supposed to do in that situation?
don't know.
Do you move or do you stay?
I don't do anything because I don't put myself in those
I
fucking
know.
situations, man.
Seriously. I mean, this scene ran through my head. I was like, shit. Yeah, super memorable scene. Good one. Also, like those old ice skates. Cool. Glad
Oh
to
my
know
God.
they still had fun
Yeah.
in the
So-
1860s.
I realized watching this, I have a weird, unrealized dream of wanting to play in the snow in an old hoop skirt. Like, that just seems like really romantic.
Totally. I mean, kind of a pain in the ass.
It's
but-
a super pain in the ass, but I really liked it. I was like, something about it. I was like, I want to do that. And like, have like those like old fashioned ear muffs on and like a muff for like your hands. I don't know. I just think it's so cool.
Yeah. I love their clothes.
Yeah. And then my other favorite part is when Meg goes to this like coming out ball of this rich girl, and they're all excited, and they've been like sewing this beautiful dress for her, and she gets there, and like the bitchy girls are like, Meg, like just so you know, like that's an afternoon dress. And, like it's not right for this. Like, why don't I set you up with my like French maid, and we'll turn you into a slut. So they give her like a corset, and she's like all dressed up, and Laurie's at this party too, and he makes fun of her because he knows that like they're not all about that, and she's ashamed and like cries in the corner, which I'm kind of pissed about because like, she's just working her plate,
Let
like
her
she's just
live
having
her life.
fun.
Okay, she
Laurie,
looked hot. First of
she
all,
looks so hot.
She looked hot as hell. She looked so beautiful. That dress was awesome. The style was that sort of like bosomy, like that was all the rage. Like, hello, they don't drink. They're temperance people or whatever. So like she's having some champagne for once in her fucking life, and Laurie's like, I thought you didn't drink, blah blah blah. She's lipstick on. I mean, let Meg live a little, because she you know, she's just gonna be a wife with 25 kids and like just gonna have to do chores and bake bread all day. Like, let the girl live. I know. I got really mad at that part too. I'm like, who cares? Like,
fucking Laurie, he ruins everything.
I know.
But yeah, and then obviously the Beth death scene and stuff. Another thing, though, that I always forget when I watch this is that Beth doesn't die until the very end.
I know.
Like, I always think it's so much earlier.
I thought she died at the part when she first gets sick, and then she was okay. I'm like, and then for 2 seconds I was like, wait, does Beth not die? And then I had made that all part of my story yesterday, and I was like, shit, why didn't anyone call me on it?
The cutting edge part 2.
I know. I like, did I make this shit up? But yeah, that the Beth dying scene is excellent work done by Claire Danes. I will say, it's a beautiful scene. When she closes the window and basically like Beth's spirit flies out. Oh my god. Too much for me.
Just that little scene they have before she dies is just like so heartbreaking. She's like, I was never special like you guys were. And I'm like,
Beth, you were special. You held the family together.
Oh my god, I know.
Everyone just loved her, and she played the piano so well. And then when they like bring her the piano, I didn't even like mention that part. So like after she's sick, they you know, she had commented on Laurie's uncle as this like beautiful piano next door, and nobody ever plays it. So after she's sick,
wasn't Laurie a musician and he like played? That's what he did. Like, wasn't that his art form?
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, so they gift it to Beth, and she's like kind of comes down after being sick for so long, and she just starts crying, and everyone's like, surprise, and they like hide it from her, and then she plays all these Christmas carols, and it's like all the Laurie and his uncle, and then their whole family and the maid and everything, and the dad had come home yet? No,
not yet.
Yeah, but so they're all together, and it's like such a lovely scene.
But listen,
it's like Christmas.
But listen, is that piano cursed or what? Because like the neighbor guy is like, this was my daughter's and she died, and then like gives it to Beth, she dies. So it's obviously cursed or something.
Might be a bad piano, but hey, made
sweet scene,
made good music. But yeah, those are great. And I'll also add when she sells her hair. So that was always like a really memorable scene to me, and how like I think always as also like a tiny baby feminist, I was like, if I'm ever in a pinch, like I had really long hair like that too. I was like, if I'm ever in a pinch, I'm just gonna sell this hair.
Now they just like you just donate it.
Now
like, okay, see you later.
Yeah.
But I still can't get over that Amy line. Jill, you're one beauty. Like, what a bitch.
Fuck you, bitch. Yeah,
Amy
has some good lines.
Oh my god, so many. Isn't butter divinity? I just can't get over that. Like, I don't know. I just that line has always made me like cringe for some reason. Maybe it's her delivery, and it's like it's just that like high like important voice that she uses in this. It just drives me nuts.
Joe March, you'll be sorry.
Oh my god. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm the youngest, right? I was pretty bratty. Like I could relate pretty well to Amy because there is that feeling of like that you have, I guess, as the youngest child of like I don't know. Like I deserve these things. I don't know. Like that scene where she's crying about not being able to go to the theater, it was just like weird. Like you can't go to the theater.
No, you can't go to the theater. First of all, it's not going to be exciting to you. You're not going to like it. You think the idea of going is fun, but actually watching the theater, you're going to be bored as hell. Right. You don't know what's going on. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is if all. But it's like Beth didn't get to go either.
But that idea of like doing something to hurt somebody in the moment and then like instantly feeling regret about it, like I could relate to that like pretty well because I've done that like most of my life. I'm like, damn it, why'd I do that? And it just reminded me of the fights that we have as sisters. Like they're like so hot, like not hot, but like heated. They're so heated for like a couple seconds, right? and then I feel like we get really mad at each, like when we get in a fight, which is rare, we get very mad at each other, but then it's like forgiven pretty quickly. Like it's, and then everything is fine. And it just, I don't know, that scene just like again took on like a whole new meaning again.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Like, when was the ice skating scene like after that? Was it supposed to be like the next day, or were they like upset for a couple?
I don't. That's a good
For a
point.
lot
I don't know.
longer.
I'm not sure. Yeah. No idea.
Yeah. No. I mean, I get that, and I think that was a really realistic portrayal of how siblings, especially sisters, are in terms of that kind of way of fighting and trying to really damage someone. But you're right, like instantly regretting it. But then being able to make up pretty quickly. I agree. That is how it works.
It is. Also, again, on this fact, but like I might literally kill someone for a hoop skirt. Like I have always wanted. Haven't you always wanted
Kind
to
of.
wear a hoop skirt?
Kind of.
Like,
They
didn't
seem
it
like
remind
fun.
you of the Nutcracker? And like, so Emily, sweetie, would be in the Nutcracker. She did ballet. She was in it every year. And the party scene was with like all these adults, and they had like the most amazing. Well, they seemed the most amazing to me when I was little. I don't know what the quality up close was like, but they seemed really nice. And they were like these big hoop skirts. I was obsessed with it when I was little. Like I would have just wanted nothing more than to wear one of those. And this too, you're like, oh, the party scenes. I'm just like, oh, give me that hoop skirt.
Yeah. I know. I never got to
love it.
wear one. I never got to be in
I
the party
know.
scene as like an adult. So
It's a regret.
bummer. But
You
yeah,
can
why,
still make it happen. We
why
can,
did
like,
that style
rent
ever
them
go
or
away?
something.
It does seem really fun.
I mean, it's just like impractical. Like any outfit you have to spend like 5 hours getting into and like buckled into, it just doesn't seem like a feminist thing, you know?
And like corsets and like the weird like big butt thing. You know, that seemed
the
like
bustle.
nutty. Yeah,
The bustle.
bustle.
I love the bustle. Also, do you ever, on a snowy day such as today, sit around and think about how weird it is that Kirsten Dunst looks exactly like Kirsten, the American doll?
I mean,
Mind
no,
blown?
but good point.
They're
I
both
like it.
Kirsten, right?
Yeah,
That's weird. I think it's weird.
Kirsten Dunst. How does she spell it?
Yeah.
K-I?
Yeah.
Kirsten. Yeah, I don't know. Good point. I mean, blonde, blue eyes, kind of the same face. Good call. Good
Yeah,
call.
it's just something I noticed.
So, as we're doing this, a lot of talk has been in the last, let's say, like year or so about the next Little Women, which is coming out this year or next year. I forget. So everyone made like a huge to-do about it because it's a Greta Gerwig directed another remake of this movie and stars some pretty good people. So you have Emma Watson, Saoirse Ronan, that like guy of the moment, Timothy Chalamet.
Oh my god, he like looks like Christian Bale in
I
this.
know.
Like when I was watching this, I was like, oh, he's gonna be
totally.
like really good as that.
Yep. He's
So
he's
funny.
Laurie, and then you know who is shit. It must be Amy. I don't think it's Beth. I forget who Beth is. Is the-
Eliza, Amy is Eliza,
the girl
Fisher
from
or
Sharp
whatever.
Objects or whatever.
Yep.
The sister from
Little
Sharp
sister.
Objects. Yeah. So
Yep.
she'll be good. Meryl Streep, Aunt March, Laura Dern as Marmee, and then like a lot of other big names. So that's like kind of the talk the last couple months, to the point that they filmed a lot of it in Boston. So we had, or surrounding towns in Boston. So we had a lot of like film people here, and people were posting pictures of like Emma Watson and like a hoop skirt and cape and everything. And then my friend, who's a former professional ballet dancer, tried out for the dance roles a couple times. She never got the callbacks, but like that was really awesome. So they had like a bunch of, they were casting for dancers around here. So very cool. Like very excited to like see that when it comes out. I don't know if it'll touch this one. And like, so this was been remade a bunch of times. So you had two really big ones in the 30s and 40s. The first one was in 1933 with Katharine Hepburn as Jo. Pretty big movie. The next was in 1949 with Margaret O'Brien as Beth. So Tootie from Meet Me in St. Louis. Elizabeth Taylor as Amy. And Janet Leigh as Meg. So that one was pretty big.
Yeah.
You're listening to me?
Yeah. I'm looking at the cat. I was trying to figure out who Bob Odenkirk is in the new.
Yeah, I don't know
Little
why they
Women.
don't list some people as
Or Chris Cooper. Yeah.
that's kind of weird.
Weird.
So then this one came on in 1994, and then we're gonna have one either this year or next year. So this is an oft-made, story, and I don't know what the Greta Gerwig one is gonna do, and like why we really need that one.
Yeah, like
but
what is the necessity?
yeah, because a woman directed this one. It's not like we need one directed by a woman or something like that. A woman directed this one, so
It's just like, I mean, it's a timeless classic.
it is,
know,
and
it's
it like
just-
we said, it's a very feminist story, so it's very
Right.
like of the moment. Which will be good, I guess. So I'm interested to see it. I don't know, like this one obviously holds a very like special place in our heart. It's a beautiful movie, and it's like, you know, nearly flawless. I mean, I think it's just like a lovely, lovely film.
It is truly is. Also want to add that the dad seems like a real wet blanket.
Yeah. When he came in, I was like, is that poor man's Robin Williams or what?
I know he looked familiar, and
He
I looked him up,
did.
and I was like, no, he hasn't been in anything. That was weird. I was like, really? I was like, that's it? That's all you got?
Yeah. I mean, he's not part of it like at all.
No,
which
yeah,
is,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
kind of good in some ways. Yeah, I enjoyed this watch. So cozy. We had a big
It
snowstorm
really is.
in Boston today, so it was a perfect movie, as Sweetie said, to watch
Yeah,
during
I
it.
just need a hoop skirt, and I'm all
I
set.
know. Let's get hoop skirts and like run
I
around.
know.
Don't you think those dances are crazy? All I could think of when they have those dances, like in like this and like Pride and Prejudice, like all those like Jane Austen ones, where like so like dances was like your form of entertainment, right? They were like parties. They were like house parties. And like everyone would know how to do those dances is like the
I don't know what
coolest
that's
thing
about.
to me. That
Like,
seems
where do you
so-
learn?
I don't
Where do you
know.
learn that? Do the girls go to like classes to like learn that?
Oh,
The
totally.
Boys, like,
I mean,
what?
is the equivalent now like you'd go somewhere and everyone knows how to do the Macarena or like all those dumb line dances that we have now?
I don't know.
Is that
I'm not
our like
sure.
bastardization of like these lovely dances that people used to have? I mean, I think it was just like part of society. Like if you were, you know, a certain class, like you'd have to learn those dances. It was just like part of your upbringing, which is really cool to me that would be part of your education, would be like dancing. And is that like how you met people? Because clearly it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
You fill up
I
your
love-
dance card.
I love when Joe is like, some guy is like, hey, and is like trying to get her eye, and she's like runs away from him.
Yeah, she's like,
Oh my
see ya.
God.
Do you think? I mean, she probably could have been a lesbian. Maybe
I know. That's
maybe
what I
that's
was
a good
thinking,
twist.
because she just didn't seem interested
She really didn't. She didn't give
in
two
that
fucks.
at all. But it was more like, I don't think it was because she was a lesbian. It was just because she had other things on her mind that she wanted to
Yeah.
do. You know, like men and having like getting married and having babies was not central to her life plan at all. So if like you don't want that, like, do you kind of just like, you know, if you don't care, like,
Yeah.
but she did. She loved her little German professor.
Yeah, that was sweet. Yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is at the end when you were rehashing the end scene and you were like he leaves his umbrella, and all of a sudden I'm just like in my head like, oh, that is an umbrella. This whole time I thought it was a cane.
Oh no!
And I was like, well, how's he walking? But then I was like, oh wait, I'm probably just thinking of that because a Miracle on 34th Street, like he leaves the cane behind and
Oh,
she
yeah.
like does it. But you're right, it rains, and then she's like, oh, I brought your umbrella.
Yeah.
Ta-da. Okay, I get it now. I get it. I
And he
get it.
wasn't that old that he needed.
No,
a
I know.
cane.
That's this whole like when I was little, I thought he was really old. Like he just seemed really old to me, and I think that's what scared me the most about
Yeah,
it.
no, I think he's supposed to be like 40 to her 20.
Yeah.
Five or
It's
something.
fine. It's fine. Last question: If we were in the Pickwick Society or whatever, is that what they call it? Yeah.
Yeah.
What would your gentleman name be?
Oh yeah. They just like make those up, right? They're
I
like
think so.
Mr. Pennyhurst or something.
Yeah.
Mr. Dimwinkle.
Okay.
I wanted
I didn't-
something like close.
I
to
know,
this.
I know. I can't. I tried to think of when I couldn't. I was just thinking right now, and all I got was like Mr. Fluffernut. I don't know why we go to like dinkles and nuts.
Either. It's so not.
Anyways, if someone has a better gentleman's name for us, please let us know.
Please, let us
so we
know.
can start
What-
using
what
it. Because
should
I
we
want to.
be?
I want to rock a monocle and like have fun with my sisters, pretending to be men.
I know. I
pretty
love that
funny.
was like part of their playing. It was
I know.
like, I mean, they did have like obviously like a very Joe thing. But they
And like
did.
Beth is like doesn't want to. Isn't a writer, so she just puts in a recipe for pumpkin
I know. And I love when they have the little cat as one of the characters.
Oh
all
my
dressed
God,
up. I mean,
those
there were
cats.
so many
Okay,
kittens.
where
in
were
this
those
movie.
kittens
I was
everywhere?
like totally fine with
Why
it.
were they just like in the wood
Oh
pile?
my God. Literally at one point I was like, oh my God, kitties.
they like bring logs to the wood pile and then they come out with kittens. And you're like, what?
And then when they're cuddling on the bed after, I think after Amy falls on the ice, and there's just like
Yeah.
kittens like crawling
Oh
all
my
over them.
God.
I'm like, where can this happen for me? This is all I want.
Dream situation.
Oh my
for
God.
real. Loved it.
Kitties.
Kitties. But anyways, yeah. So good times. I know you guys like Little Women. Come on, Ryan Ferguson, you obviously love Little Women. Come and find us on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you as always for listening. Bye.
Bye.